Good morning, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over how to actually make a farming route. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so coming into actual Shadowlands, we're actually going to be experiencing a lot more different types of herbs, mining, or all that jazz, fishing as well as that. And quite frankly, a lot of people won't know what routes to take until actual more content comes out about it. So what I'd actually like to go over is how do you yourself make your own route and be able to stick to it and then be able to suggest that to other people. Obviously you will need a few different types of add-ons for this, and this would be Gathermate 2, Gathermate 2 data, routes, and routes import and export. What you'll be wanting to do here is by downloading all 4 of those add-ons. Once they're all done, all we have to do is find a particular type of zone. Now I haven't actually made a farming location for this for Zangarmarsh, and I really want to make one because you can actually get quite a few things from here that you can sell for quite a bit of gold, and that is because some of this old stuff can be used to get some rep as well, and hence why we're actually going to actually get on and get this done, because I've been putting it off way too long. And quite frankly, what you'll be wanting to do is we're going to want to have a look at the screen. Now we actually can pull up all of these node locations for loads of different types of herbs all dotted around the entire area. How do we do this, mind you? For a new player who doesn't know how all of this works, you go into your interface and you go to add-ons, and you will go to Gathermate 2. You would want to say herbalism, always show. You can do this with gas, cloud, mining, treasures, anything that you really particularly want. You can do it for fishing. I do that for fishing because it's super helpful. The import section is the part that you want to go to. This is where import data, Gathermate 2 data comes in handy, because then all you've got to do is overwrite the data, or you can merge it. I prefer to overwrite, but it depends on how you feel about it. Herbalism, I will check my herbalism and then I will pick what expansion I want any of the data to come from. Now, quite frankly, I import all of it, so that's not something that I really worry about. Then this button becomes checkable. You press it, it will import all of that stuff for you, and it will show it all on the screen for you right here. Now, what are we going to want to do now? Because we can see a lot of nodes, but we don't know what type of route we want to take. Obviously, you could go with the old adage of, let's just run around the outside. Well, to be honest, we want to have a bit more of an optimized route to be able to get the best bang for our buck. So what we'll be wanting to do is we'll want to go into routes. So we'll type in /routes and we'll bring up routes on the screen. Now, obviously, for obvious reasons, what we'll be wanting to do is we're going to want to add a route. So we're currently in Zangarmarsh. We'll just say herbs. We'll call it herbs. And we're going to create a barred route. So what we can actually do here is we can actually gather all of this stuff up. What we can actually do is we can actually check off all of the stuff we're actually typically looking for. So we can actually see that we've got dreamfoil, fellweed, blindweed, flame caps, and all that stuff. So what we could do is we could actually click all of this stuff that's actually dotted around this entire area. So what we can actually do is we can actually just check off all of the ones that we're looking for. Well, we're looking for glow caps. That is one thing we are looking for. We're looking for flame caps, rageville, dreaming glory, fellweed, dreamfoil, golden sandstorm, ghost mushrooms. Ghost mushrooms I typically don't go for because they don't sell for an awful lot of gold, so we'll check that off. We'll say blindweed, we want that, and then we'll check off all of the treasures that come along with it, because glow caps, they are a treasure to a point. They can be farmed up regularly, but they're for reputation based stuff, and what we're looking for is just typically herbalism, which actually tells us herbalism, what it actually is, and then we can create our barred route. So create route. And at the moment, we can see it being a little bit manic on the screen right now. Like, that's going to give you a headache. Like, this is what you're going to be wanting to do. No. What you'll be wanting to do to actually create this route is, this is just linking every bar to every node we've just selected. Then what we're going to be wanting to do is go down to Zanga Marsh, we'll go down to herbs, and then what we're going to have a look is this route contains anything that is dreamfoil, golden sandstorm, flame caps, blindweed, fellweed, anything that we checked in that box on creating that route is linked together now. So what we're going to be wanting to do is we want to optimize the route. So what we can do is we can also have a look at all of this stuff. We can cluster. So we could press the cluster button, which actually cleans it up a bit. It's still a little bit messy. So what we'll be wanting to do here is we will want to extra optimize. So, and what you were wanting to do is we can actually use routes to actually make an optimized thing. We can actually make a background check on that, and then we can add a foreground check button. So this will actually take a little second to actually do. Obviously, it has to generate the route in particular that you're going to be wanting to do, and once it's actually finished doing its thing, it will actually change the route up a bit. So now obviously it's showing a percentage of how many passes it's doing, all of that stuff, and then it will eventually just do its kind of thing, and I'll actually go through all of these different passes on how to optimize the actual particular route, and then we can actually go about changing it all up like that. So then we can actually find out what's actually going about and what's actually going to happen. So that being the case, we're going to wait till it's done all of its passes, and then we can actually jump back to it. Other than that, what it's actually going to be doing is I will literally tell you, read it as of from the screen. It says it will generate to a close to optimal path for setting nodes, and now it's done it. Basically, it's linked all of these up and it's cleaned up the entire area of that particular farm. So now you've got a bit of a farming route that's a bit haywire, it's a bit everywhere. But if you farmed this in this particular pattern, you wouldn't be missing any of the nodes. It's now optimized that particular route for you to do. So now it looks kind of messy. Now, you could always go with a route like my one in Negrand, where I literally just go boom, 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 boom. I cover all of the bases because I don't want to go into ultra clusters and all that stuff. That's just to cut off time. That is basically the boring way of doing it. With actual routes, this will create a route for you. Now, generally, if you wanted to do that, you can. This is by far a really good way in order to get a good idea on what you actually want to typically farm. So obviously, say you've just created your route and you're kind of not happy with it and all that stuff. Like, you can change the color and all that stuff. Like, yeah, we'll have it a pink, I guess. And you can optimize the actual route kind of well when it comes to all that stuff. So it's really not that difficult in order to do. You just press the foreground, it will run its passes, it will give you an optimized route to get the maximum amount from that particular zone. This is how most people will do it. I generally like that particular way on how you actually do it. So you can always do it that way. I prefer to do it that way because it's just so much easier. Routes will actually do it for you. It will do all of the optimization for you for that particular farm. You can, however, do it your own way by doing your own edits on that. So what we can do is we can now just go to Dustwallow Marsh. We'll grab the red ray gun one and we can just say, we're going to edit this manually. So we can edit our route. So we have a route here. We want to farm up this particular area, so we'll bring routes over, and what we want to do is we want to click on these. So what we want to do is we want to cover all the bases. So these are our top areas. So obviously there's not an awful lot behind Onyxia's Lair, so we'll put it there. And these are your starting points. You're basically in a triangle, but you're going to be missing out that particular area here. So you would go with that. Now what you're going to be wanting to do is you'll want to make sure that you've got that point, but you also don't want to miss out on certain different other points. In between the actual bars, actually add this in. So what you can do is you can obviously optimize this for yourself in order to make the maximum amount of gold for your time invested. So what you can do is you can just bend it to the zone by yourself instead of having it optimized for you by Roots, because sometimes Roots doesn't actually get it right. But 9 times out of 10 it will get it right for you. It just won't be as what you used to actually farm up like. So it won't be exactly the same. But this is what I would typically say. I'm going around the outside of the area quite well, and we're just adjusting the routes as such to meet all the node densities. So obviously I'm missing out certain things. I don't really want to spend time trying to get Stranglekill. I just want to cover the area in like a nice loop-esque fashion that I can do relatively well. Once that's done, I can just save my route and it's on my screen for Dustswallow Marsh. Obviously I can go into line settings, I can change it to different colours. Obviously we did that for WorthIt, for different types of actual farms. We found that kind of helpful. But other than that, this is how we would typically do it. Now, overall, would I actually go about doing this all the time? Yes. At the beginning of an expansion, this is typically what you'd want to do. You want to find the most optimal farm that you want to do. And then, when you're actually doing it, you would want to edit it accordingly. So, what you can do is, you could recreate the route, you could actually edit it and make your own one and then remove the other one. Now, say you've got your route, you've tested it out, you've deleted it, you've made your own route, it works relatively well, and you're getting a good gold per hour for it. Now you're going to want to share it. This is where routes import and export comes in handy, because it uses a serializer to actually serialize the entire route in question. So you can see at the bottom here, I can just go down to the bottom. This is the same way we actually serialize a WorthIt import and export. You just copy and you paste it into the actual thing. So what you can do for this one is you would get your export for your farm. So you just go to the farm and you share that with a friend. Your friend, on the other hand, comes into routes, and when they can actually see that if they go to routes, they can have an import box where they can just type that in and they can add their own routes into that. And then it will add it all in for you. And that is how you import and export. It's really that dead simple. Other than that, guys, this is basically a 101 on how to make a route in the real world. It's really that simple for gold farming. I just wanted to cover this up because I actually got a lot of questions about this. How do you actually find routes? I generally start off with using routes optimization method in order to find a route. And then after I've done like an hour's worth of farming, I know what areas are null and void. So eventually this area up here would be null and void. So I'd pull that down in order to go around the area a bit better. Then I'd change it up so I wouldn't be dotting all around this area. I'd be cleanly making my array around. And then I probably wouldn't actually jump in the area. I'd probably leave off this corner and then just keep it all array around that way. So you do the optimization method is my typical approach, and then I do it myself in which I see fit, because obviously that's a little messy, so I like to clean it up so it's a bit more easier to actually follow, like something according like this, and then I find that a lot easier to actually farm up. Aside from all of that, guys, that is basically how I like to go about doing it. Hopefully you learned something new. Other than that, guys, have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow. If you want to support the channel and help make the channel even better, then why not check out the Patreon? Members get additional info, gold making resources, and Patreon specific content. The link is located in the description down below. Thank you and have an awesome day.